Hello, book besties. As you might notice, my shelves are empty and my books are on the ground. And that is because today we are going to be looking at every single book that I have on my physical TBR currently. My bottom shelves here are all of my physical TBR, and the top part is books that I have read. I think we're just gonna go by genre, and I'll just show you each book. I'm probably not going to go into great detail about each book because there are a lot of books, but I'll try to give like a 1 to 3 sentence synopsis, I guess, of each book. Let's just jump right into it, guys. We're going to start off with fiction. Fiction for me is kind of just like a broad spectrum. And there's no order, it's just by genre and just how they were set up on my shelves. The first book is A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I think that's how you say his name. This author also wrote The Kite Runner. I'm just looking at this right now and I actually don't think there's any like description anywhere of this. Okay, so one of the quotes on the back says that this takes place in Afghanistan during the war and it follows 2 women through the war. The next book that I have is the first in a series that obviously I haven't started yet, and that is The Inheritance Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is about a teenage girl who inherits this billionaire's estate and like all of his money and everything. I'm not sure if she knows him, but she inherits all his money. The family thinks that she's like a con woman, I'm pretty sure, and I think they're trying to like get their inheritance from her, something like that. The next fiction book that I have is Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. I've heard this is a really funny book. It's kind of like a comedy. I'm pretty sure the main character kills somebody and then she has to call her aunties to help her get rid of the body. Next book that I have for fiction is The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery by Gabrielle Zevin. This is about a man who lives in his bookstore. One of his like rare books gets stolen and a package shows up and it like changes his life. The next book that I have for fiction is Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen. I've seen the movie for this and it's one of my favorite movies, so I figured I just needed to read the book. This is about a boy, I'm trying to remember the movie synopsis, a boy that runs away from home, I'm pretty sure, to join the circus, but he discovers that basically the elephant in the circus is being abused, well, all of the animals are being abused by the circus master, is that what they're called? The next book that I have is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've heard so many mixed reviews about this book, but I'm really hoping that I'm going to enjoy it. I think this follows a woman and a man who grew up in the same town and they strike up a conversation and they don't really seem to have anything in common, but they still have like a spark of connection. The next book that I have is actually not mine and I need to read it soon to give it back to my friend, but that is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This, I believe, is about 2 men who get a message. I don't know if they live in like a dystopian world, but like they get a message saying that they're both gonna die today and they get together and live out their last day together. I put this next book in the category of fiction because I only have one romance. This is the one and only, well, I have another romance that's on my monthly TBR right now, but this is like the only romance book that I have on my physical TBR at this moment, and that is Forever Never by Lucy Score. I believe this is about a guy and a girl, and I think that they're friends or they've known each other for a long time, and the guy has potentially like always liked the girl, but the girl has just been like, I don't really care for you. And I think it's basically their love story. Okay, so this is kind of like in between fiction and fantasy. I guess like magical realism, I suppose. So the next book that I want to talk about is The Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman. I've never heard of this book. I've never seen anybody talk about this book. I believe this is about 2 or 3 siblings that have like a family curse on them. This love curse was put on them in the 1600s. And their mom sets down rules for them, like no walking in the moonlight, no red shoes, no wearing black, no cats, no crows, no candles, no books about magic, and most importantly, never ever fall in love. The next book that I have is The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Goranchek. This kind of gives like Greek mythology type of vibes. Oh, Norse mythology, it says. She falls in love with a man and they have 3 kids and they each have a secret destiny. And I think it's about the mom trying to basically like remake the future for her and her kids. Another that is kind of like magical realism is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've heard amazing things about this book. It's kind of giving Caraval. I think this might have come before Caraval, but the circus just randomly appears. There's a competition, duel between 2 young magicians who have been trained since childhood for this purpose. So now we are getting into the fantasy genre. The next book that I have that I actually recently picked up is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This is kind of giving Hunger Games. There's these games that happen in the kingdom, and there is this girl who has beef with the king, and if you win the games, you get to meet the king. So she goes into these games hoping that she'll win and she'll get to meet the king and kill him. There is another player in the game. The guy in this book enters the games to try and save his childhood love, who is in a coma. The woman and the man form an unexpected alliance. Anything that gives Hunger Game vibes, I'm all the way there. And I'm pretty sure this is the first in a series. I don't think that the second book is out yet though. The next 2 books I'm going to put together because they are part of an interconnected series, and that is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare and Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is the first in the Mortal Instruments series, and the interconnected series follows these characters' children, which is the Infernal Devices series. And these are book 1 of each of those series. I believe these are also YA. I'm pretty sure these books are about demon hunters. Yeah, that's pretty much all I know. The next book that I want to talk about is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I think this is a little bit of like magical realism also, and dark academia. This high schooler goes to a special school for gifted children. She witnesses a magical attack her first night on campus, a flying demon feeding on human energies. She enters this secret society called Legendborn that hunts down the creatures. The next book that I have is also the first book in a series in a duology, and that is 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I have never heard anybody say that this is a bad book. Everybody from like all different walks of booktube have said that this book is amazing. I'm pretty sure this is like about a crew of people who go on some sort of heist. The next one that I have is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is a Greek mythology retelling. It follows Achilles and Patroclus. They're trying to save Helen of Sparta, who has been kidnapped. The next book that I have is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This is obviously a very, very popular anime movie, and I picked this up at my local little free library. This is about a girl who finds herself under a horrid spell that transforms her into an old lady. Her only chance at breaking it lies in the ever-moving castle on the hills, the Wizard Howl's Castle. I have seen this movie before, but it was when I was a kid, and I don't remember anything, so I'm excited to read this and then rewatch the movie. The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This is dark academia. This is secret society. Each decade, only the 6 most uniquely talented magicians are selected to earn a place in the Alexandrian Society, the foremost secret society in the world. And I've heard mixed reviews on this. Some people say they absolutely hate it. Some people say they absolutely love it. So we'll see. The next book that I have is still a little bit fantasy, but also dark academia and moving into historical fiction. And that is Babel by R.F. Kuang. A guy goes to this mysterious school in London in the 1800s. Yep, 1820s. He studies language, I'm pretty sure. This has magical elements in it. Again, I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on this. Some people said this was super boring, and some people said this was a great work of literature. So, we'll see. We're moving into historical fiction now. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've not heard many people say bad things about this. This takes place in the 60s, and I'm pretty sure it just follows a band through the 60s. I've heard that it's kind of like an interview style. I feel like this will actually be a really fast read because of that. Then I have The House on Vesper Sands by Periac O'Donnell. I'm so sorry. I've never, ever seen this on Book Talk, BookTube, Bookstagram. I've never seen this anywhere online. I just saw this at a thrift store and it looked good. This takes place in London in the 1800s again. This is about a woman who jumps from a window and commits suicide. And there is a reporter and there is a detective, and they're both trying to figure out why she did this. I'm hoping that it turns out to be really good. I just love when a book that I pick up that I've never seen before, never heard of, is like a 5-star. That's like the best feeling. It's like you found a diamond in the rough. Then we have Emma by Jane Austen. My grandfather got this for me when I was younger for obvious reasons. I actually soft DNF'd this at the beginning of the year. I made it this far through. So basically about a third of the way through, and I had to DNF it because the language in this is very hard. Trying to read Old English for me is something that I really struggle with. And I even tried to pick up the audiobook with this, and I still could not really understand what was going on, but I'm pretty sure this is about a woman who loves to be like a matchmaker for people, but she doesn't ever want to get married. And I think her friends and her father, her family, are trying to convince her to get married, but all she wants to do is like be a matchmaker, which sounds really cute. But this is definitely like a book that I might have to read over a few months because the language is a little bit difficult for me. Then I have Hour of the Witch by Chris Bojalian. This takes place in the 1600s during the witch trials. This woman is going to be tried for witchcraft because she wants a divorce from her husband, and she wants other things that women in the 1600s don't normally want or go for. She treats a boy in the village with some herbs and he ends up dying, and so everyone thinks she's a witch. I picked this up from my free little library also. Again, not one that I've ever heard of, but anything to do with like the witch trials, I'm in. The last historical fiction that I have is one that I've actually already read before, but a long time ago, and that is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. All I can remember about this is there's a dad and 2 kids, and there is a house that is near their house that supposedly has this creepy guy living there, and like everyone's scared of him. But in the end, they actually find out that he just has like differences and they're no longer scared of him. That's all I can really remember. I'm definitely excited to pick this up in like a non-school setting. I feel like every time you have to pick up a book in a school setting, it just makes it not as fun. I am excited to see how I feel about this as an adult. Next, we are going to be moving into the thriller, mystery, horror category. Those are all going to be in the same category because I think I only have 1 or 2 that are actually horrors, and mysteries and thrillers just kind of like go hand in hand to me. And the first book that I have for this category is An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. This girl signs up for a psychological study conducted by this doctor, and the doctor's asking her a bunch of questions, but the questions start to get like more and more intense and invasive. and she begins to think that the doctor might actually know what she's thinking and what she's hiding. This is another one where I've never seen this anywhere on the internet. I've never heard anything about it, but I just saw it in the thrift store and it piqued my interest. The next one that I have is My Husband's Wife by Jane Corey. This is about a woman who marries a painter and they move into this house where she meets this little girl named Carla. Carla has an uncanny ability to twist the truth so she can get her way. Lily takes on her first murder case, so I'm assuming she's a detective. She learns that her marriage to the painter is based on a bed of lies. Carla shows up on her doorstep 12 years later, and a chain of events is set in motion that can only end one way. This is another book that I've never seen on the internet, but it sounds really good. The next one that I have is Little Fires Everywhere, and I really don't know how to pronounce that last name. So, I'm sorry. If anybody knows, let me know in the comments how to pronounce that. I've heard mixed reviews on this one as well, and I actually wasn't sure if I wanted to pick it up. This woman lives in this small town and she plays by the rules, and then this mother and daughter move into the town, and the mother has a mysterious past. Drama happens in the town and it puts the two women on opposing sides. The woman who lived there previously is suspicious of the one who just moved in and her motives, and she's determined to uncover the secrets that she has. The next book is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. I'm pretty sure there is a movie for this. Anna Fox lives alone. She spies on her neighbors. A new family moves in across the way. She's looking out her window one night. She sees something she shouldn't, and her world begins to crumble. I can't remember if I've seen the movie for this. I want to say I have, or maybe I've just seen the trailer for it. This will be another one that'll be fun to read and then watch the movie after. Then I have The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I know that I have seen this movie, and I know that there was a crazy twist at the end of this. I saw it so long ago that I cannot remember anything about it, thankfully. A woman sees something shocking while she's on the train, and now everything's changed. And then she goes to the police, but the police think that she's unreliable, and soon she is deeply entangled not only in the investigation but in the lives of everyone involved. Then we have All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. It's been 10 years since this woman broke up with her boyfriend, a man she thought that she would marry, and 10 years since her best friend Corinne disappeared, never to be heard from again. Her father is ailing, so she goes back to the town that she grew up in, and she drops everything to care for her dad. Another girl goes missing while she's there. She's trying to figure out what happened to the missing girl, and shocking truths emerge about her neighbors, her family, and what really happened to Corinne that night 10 years ago. The next book that I have is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This is like a Groundhog Day type book where the same day happens over and over again. Evelyn Hardcastle will be murdered at 11 p.m. There are 8 days and 8 witnesses for you to inhabit. We'll only let you escape once you tell us the name of the killer. I think I have seen this on the internet, but I haven't really heard anybody say their opinions on it. I think sometimes like the Groundhog Day theme can get a little bit old and possibly like repetitive. We'll see how this author does with this. The next book that I have is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This is a popular one that I've heard a lot about. Ellie Mack's daughter disappears. 10 years after Ellie's disappearance, her mother Laurel Mack is trying to put her life back together when she meets an unexpectedly charming man in a cafe. Before she knows it, she's meeting Floyd's daughters, and his youngest Poppy takes Laurel's breath away because the eerily precocious Poppy is the spitting image of Ellie. Next, I have the second book in a children's series, and that is Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. This is the second book in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. The first one I think was somewhere around a 3.5 or a 3.75 for me, and I told myself that I would read this one to see if the series gets any better, and if I wasn't really enjoying the second one, that I probably wouldn't continue the series, because the series is like 5 or 6 books, I'm pretty sure. This is about a bunch of kids with like different gifts and also just like peculiar things about them. It's cool because it has like pictures in it too. So that's always fun. And I have Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. Libby was 7 when her mother and 2 sisters were murdered in a Satan sacrifice. She survived and famously testified that her 15-year-old brother Ben was the killer. 25 years later, the Kill Club, a secret society obsessed with notorious crimes, locates Libby and pumps her for details. They hope to discover proof that may free Ben. Libby hopes to turn a profit off her tragic history. She'll reconnect with the players from the night and report her findings to the club for a fee. Libby's search takes her from shabby Missouri strip clubs to abandoned Oklahoma tourist towns. The unimaginable truth emerges and Libby finds herself right back where she started, on the run from a killer. It's Drowning Ruth by Christina Schwartz. I literally see this every single time I go into a thrift store, and so I just had to pick it up and look at what the synopsis was. And it does sound interesting. It's a historical fiction, but it's a thriller. It takes place in winter of 1919, and a mother drowns. The shock of her death dramatically changes the lives of her daughter, troubled sister, and husband. Told in the voices of several of the main characters, and skipping back and forth in time, the narrative gradually and tantalizingly reveals the dark family secrets and the unsettling discoveries that lead to the truth of what actually happened the night of the drowning. This is the one book that I think, I'm not exactly sure, but I think this would be considered horror, and that is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is basically like a Dracula retelling, but it follows the perspective of Dracula's wives. I thought this would be super interesting because I read Dracula at the beginning of this year and I really loved that book. So I'm really excited for this one. I think I'm going to read this during like the Halloween time. Then I have His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I am obsessed with Alice Feeney's work, and I've only read one of her books, but her one book that I did read, which was Rock, Paper, Scissors, was so good. It had the best plot twist. I didn't see it coming at all, so I'm definitely excited to pick this up. A woman is murdered in Blackdown. Newsreader Anna Andrews is reluctant to cover the case. Detective Jack Harper is suspicious of her involvement until he becomes a suspect in his own murder investigation. And the last books that I want to talk about are the first and second in a series, and that is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman and The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is the first, this is the second. Sorry guys, the sun is getting like so bright and terrible, but I'm pretty sure this is like takes place in like a retirement home, and this group of old people get together like once a week or something to like rehash murder cases. When a local developer is found dead with a mysterious photograph left next to the body, the friends suddenly find themselves in the middle of their first live case. And that is it, guys. This was a lot of books to go through, but I hope that you guys enjoyed and maybe got some new books that you might want to pick up. I know going through my TBR has actually made me really excited to pick up some of these books, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please like and comment and subscribe. Please chat with me in the comments about all things books. What's on your TBR? Have you read any of these books that I have on my TBR? Are they on your TBR? Anything and everything, come chat with me. And until next time, guys, bye!